Hey, you guys, this is Rafael from Relics.com in Savannah, Tennessee. Hope you guys are well. It is a wonderful day here in Tennessee because we're going to get to talk about some Civil War artillery. You seem to like the last artillery one that we did, so here's another one about a shell that on first glance they look very similar. They are not, and the rarity of them is a lot different. If you notice, this one is a little bit shorter than that one. Why would that be? There's a few other differences as well that make this one a really special one. This one's special, but this one's extra more special. This one is the prototype of a solid shot projectile that was developed by a major general from Rhode Island, Charles Tillinghast James. Let's try saying that 3 times quick. Charles Tillinghast James received a patent on February 26, 1856, for his James projectile for a rifled cannon. These two go in the 14-pounder James rifle that has a bore diameter of 3.8 inches. They were a very popular one until in 1862, Major General James of the Rhode Island Militia was who had actually became a senator and was in charge of patents. And then he went and started making these shells. He was showing everybody how wonderful his shells were. And during that process, one of the workers was taking out a fuse and the shell exploded, killed the worker instantly. And a day or two later, James would die from one of his own shells. Kind of hard to keep saying my shells are great when they killed you. So they kind of get phased out and they replace them mostly with Hotchkisses. But James this is called his Type 2 shell. And they were patented June 10th, 1862. They show up in a shell and then they show up in these solid shot versions. These are referred to as a bird cage, and you can tell by looking at the base of it, it has the openings, they're referred to as legs. They have the legs that go down. On a prototype, the projectile is a little bit shorter, and at the base, the openings around the legs are flat on the bottom. The regular standard one, which is still rare, is rounded at the bottom. And when you see them from a distance, you don't pay attention. When you see them by themselves, it's easy to not pay attention. When you see them side by side, there's a lot of difference, because look at how much taller in the picture it is on the regular one than the prototype, and the way the bases look. So it's a completely different critter that you really don't notice until you start looking closely. And I've wanted to do one of these for a long time, but I've had one or the other, but not both to talk about. Bought both of these different collections, just happened to get them at the same time. If you get a chance, go on to the website, because we've got a lot of new artillery shells and a lot of cool variations, some things that you haven't been able to offer for a pretty good while. That's the thing I love about artillery shells, is that you don't see them. When you see an artillery shell that you don't have and you want, you better buy it, because it might not come together to find one again. I actually was talking to an old friend of mine, and he said, man, these artillery shells have really went up lately. And I told him, I said, well, I've said it for years, because you can always lose a button or a buckle anywhere. But if you fired your cannon, you had to report it. So we know basically all of the spots that they fired artillery at, because they had to account for those big shells and for everything else. So they're not replaceable like a button or a buckle. Love buttons and buckles, but artillery shells to me are something that are only going to get tougher to find and more expensive. So this prototype, Type 2. This one, or the standard one, the standard prototype Type 2 is in the book a rarity of 7 out of 10, rare shell. The prototype is a 10 out of 10. In my 900 years in the business, that feels like these days, I've had less than a dozen of these. They're a rare little critter, and this one is beautiful. But the legs on these are what really make them stand out. They say that when they fired, they would actually whistle because of the design of the base. Originally, that base opening there would have been covered with lead, And on top of that lead, they'd had a canvas to help seal it once they pushed it down into the cannon, which was great. But when you see these, most of the time that lead is missing. What happened to that lead? When it went out of the cannon barrel, it blew off because the force was inside pushing it out. That's great unless in front of those artillery, you have infantry. If you have the infantry there, they're liable to get shot by their own artillery, which an infantryman is not going to like, and the artilleryman is probably going to feel bad about. So the infantry did not like these shells, and they did say that that happened. So they were not one of the favorites because it killed the inventor. It would have killed the infantry. And on the shells, a lot of times they didn't explode. So you had 3 strikes and you're out, and they started replacing them with the Hotchkisses. So these are neat. You need to go onto the site and check these out because they won't last long. They will hopefully be on very soon. I'm a little backlogged. I ended up buying about 2 truckloads of stuff at the last 2 shows. We had 3 shows kind of back to back to back. And I ended up stopping in between each one to see collections, and I bought things. And so I've got a lot of relics right now I'm going to be writing up. But go on there. I hope you guys are taking care of yourself. I noticed, well, I always notice September because it is Suicide Prevention Month. And a lot of people, you don't think about the struggles that a lot of people are going through, but there's a lot of people that are just making it day to day. There's stresses from family and money and politics and everything else. And if you're getting, if it's beating you down, don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's nothing the matter with asking for help. There are therapists out there. There's suicide prevention lines that you can call. Matter of fact, here's a number. If you ever are in that shape, and God, I hope you're not, but I understand that the pressure of life can be too much at times to handle on your own. It doesn't matter with asking for a little help. I lost my wife to suicide because of prescription drugs. And it's something that the family and the survivors never get over. And it's a rough thing, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So if you are struggling at all today, don't be afraid to reach out. There's nothing the matter with saying you need a little help, because everybody needs a helping hand at some times, and there are a lot of hands to help pull you up when it feels like a lot of them are trying to push you down. So don't be afraid to reach out for that. Get off my soapbox now. I hope you know that I care about you guys. I hope you go on to Shiloh Relics and buy a lot, because I bought too much myself. I need to share some of this artillery. So go on there, check it out. Remember that you're cared about. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you next time. Love y'all. If you enjoyed that little bit of history, you are going to love what you're going to find on the Shiloh Relics YouTube channel. Be sure to check them out. If you enjoy them, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, guys.